Hi there, my name's Jim, this is my shed and you're welcome to it.
Hi there, how you doing? Better than me, I hope. I'm sure you can tell from the intro that I had a slight medical emergency a couple of weeks ago. Discovered the hard way how debilitating concussion is. I really was I wasn't good for, I've only just got over it. It took a couple of weeks to stop feeling tired and irritable and all that. And yeah, not fun. But here's the loft assembly, the whole loft, taking the loft ladder out of the ceiling, unscrewed everything, unscrewed it from the joists and all that, pulled it out of the ceiling, and either I didn't hold on to it or the spring mechanism went or something. To be honest, I can't remember exactly what happened, but it gave me a good old whack on the head. Still got sore neck. Have a little scar. The last of the steri strips has just fallen off, but yeah, very silly. And I'm going to have to face the music when I get to work, so I get there and start teaching my manual handling and working at height courses. And I have to say, yeah, I've taken all this on board, so I've learned from bitter experience. But anyway, I'll have to face the music next week when I go back. So best avoided, I would say. Try not to bang your head. Yeah, it wasn't fun. So last video, I said I was going to get the inlet manifold on. And as you can see from the picture at the start of the video, you can see that it's pretty much done. I've just got to... I have actually got the unions to go in the end of the fuel rail, and I had to buy a tap because I haven't got a 1/2 inch BSP tap, so I now have a tap. Tap the end of those, bung those in, and that inlet manifold is completely done. So I'm sure you'll enjoy seeing that. I haven't been able to do anything else. As I say, this bang on the head really did take it out of me, so I haven't done anything for a couple of weeks. So I'm just recording this now that I'm all recovered, and let's get on with it, eh? Right, first thing I need to do is make a lump of metal to keep this flange nice and flat as I weld it. I probably should have done that before I welded the runners onto the flange, but I didn't. But I'm going to do it now just because, well, just want to make sure that's flat when I weld the base plate on here. So yeah, I'll get on with that. Back plate in progress. Obviously, to go round these, because it's going to sit sort of this level here. Obviously, to go round, it's going to be in 2 halves. So I welded these together, cut out roughly, shaped, tapered. Now a lot of filing to try and get it to fit on there. So. So here you can see it's starting to take shape. There's the basic inlet, and we've got view from the top. But obviously you can see that we've got quite a nice turn coming into here. When I say nice, I mean extreme, which is obviously going to mean the flow is going to be biased towards this end. We've got a big open area here where not much is going to be happening. Still hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a turning vane inside here. So about the middle of this part, have a little vane inside that will turn, so that rather than all the air having to go right round the back of the plenum and then being biased that way, at least some of it will be turned. How do I describe it? At least some of it will be turned. So a little vane from here, so that so you've got two edges. So basically, you've got some flow will go along that edge, and then some flow will go along the vane and be biased more towards this end. So the next bit I'm going to make is a little turning vane to go inside here. I'll show you when I've got on with it. So there we go, plenum and runners done. Now I just need to get on with getting some injector bosses on there and make up the injector rail and just have a whinge like I always do. Bloody typical, isn't it? The weld along the bottom edge, perfect. This one managed to dip the bloody tungsten, so I've cocked up the weld up here. Right on the corner where you'll see it, of course. But anyway, it's coming along, so as I say, injector bosses and injector rail now. In case anyone was wondering why I was drilling and tapping my fuel rail, I'm using it as a jig to space the injector bosses. So basically pre-drill the holes in the injector rail, tap them 6mm, make these little bungs up that fit inside the injector bosses. Then it means that the bosses are exactly spaced the same as the fuel rail, and it just means, you know, if you haven't got access to a mill and you can't do everything really accurately, then jigging everything up is the best way to go, I guess, or the best way I've thought of doing it. So there you go. So here we are, manifold done. I put the throttle body on this way around just because it fitted best that way, and the linkage will be underneath, it'll be nice and tight. If I put it on with the linkage hanging out here, it'd be, you know, way out, too far away from the engine really. You know, just be hanging over into space that might be used for other things. This side obviously we're a bit restricted here, so it wouldn't have really gone there. So underneath seemed the best spot to me. If we flip her, well, I'll talk about the manifold shape first. See, I'm quite, you know, it's considering the space we had to work with, and you know, it's always nice. It would be nice to have the throttle body coming in this way, but with this kind of layout, it's obviously not going to happen. So this, you know, with a nice bend with that turning vane inside there, I think this will, you know, this will do the job nicely. Certainly flow enough, and we're not struggling for volume. So probably again, like most things I say I do, on the larger side rather than smaller side, but absolutely fine. Anyone who tells you that a big plenum like that will, you know, hurt throttle response and all that, you have to go massively too big to do anything like that. So this, good as gold. If we flip her over, see I've got the, so the bungs are in, as you saw, and you saw me drill the holes through. Made a little drill guide so I could drill through and not damage where the O-rings have got a seal. Got the fuel rail in. Haven't tapped the ends yet. The fittings for that are on order. I've just got to tap the ends 3/8 BSP, put my ends in, and then that will be all done. One thing I wanted to talk about was injectors. Now you see the way I've mounted the fuel rail. I've actually mounted it underneath the rail. I generally wouldn't do it that way. I generally bolt through here and bolt it on behind. But injectors. Now this engine, or the ECU in the engine, was mapped on 240cc injectors on the old engine. So if I put it together with my nice new 660 narrow spray pattern, nice, you know, 660 narrow spray pattern injectors, if I put those straight in it, as soon as I fire it up, it will just flood the engine with petrol and kill everything. If it fired up, it will just kill everything. So I can't really fire it up on those. I don't want the first time I start it up to be at the dyno, because the worst thing to do would be get a car transporter, go all the way to the dyno, find out I've got an oil leak somewhere or something silly doesn't work. And, you know, it's a wasted day, so I need to fire it up and get it running first. So what I do have is a set of crappy old, I think they're out of a Zetec. Pretty old. They still all go click, so I'm hoping they're okay. But they will be about the right size just to fire up and, you know, do the initial running, get it warmed up, make sure everything's okay. They're going to be in the, you know, low 200s range. It might even be 180s. I know it's too small, but certainly much nearer acceptable than those 660s would be. So I'll put these in. Unfortunately, they're shorter than the other ones, only a couple of mil, but they're still, or the way I've mounted them anyway, these are shorter length. So I've mounted under here so that with the fuel rail sitting on the brackets, it's the right length for these, and then I can just put a washer underneath each of these, and then that'll do for the bigger injectors, the 660s, when I take it to the dyno. So yeah, cunning plan. Use these crappy old injectors, get it up and running, and then when I know everything's good, engine's mechanically sound, then I can swap them for the 660s and take it to the dyno. So there you are. Mock it up on the engine and let's have a look, eh? And so here we are. Said I'd get the inlet manifold in and the plumbing done. Might be a few weeks late, but you know, as you saw earlier, medical emergency and all that. So what have we got? There's the manifold in, throttle body on, pipe work made up. Now I'm in two minds. With the pipe work, I might either, let's put it that way around so you can see better. I might either use solid links in between these, or just go with clamps. I'm not sure yet. I quite like the idea of having rose jointed links taking the load off the couplers, but we shall see. So top hose, it looks like it's one piece, but there's actually two. You can see the join there. That's two bends, but I think that looks quite nice. Goes on the thermostat housing and all fits quite nicely. We've got, what else have we got? So the bottom hoses, I can't really see. Bottom radiator hose is on. It's down there somewhere. It's all sorted out. I'm being attacked by a spider. Hello. What do you want? And the heater hoses are in. So you can see here there's the heater hoses with the diverter valve. Now this was fun and games. This blooming thing turned out to be backwards. So when, you know, my controller, when it was cold, it was the wrong way around. So I actually had to cut this bracket, weld it, turn it round and flip it all upside down. So that now works the right way around. My remote filter is in. I've decided to mount it here, and I've got the dash 10 lines routed down to the unions I put on there. Let's get that in focus. Look at the right bit. There you go. Look at that bit. So I mentioned plumbing mostly done. This is the first time I actually made up lines like these dash 10 lines with proper fittings, and I had to actually make a tool to get these actually on the pipe. I had to make like a tapered cone that's the pipe slid into to sort of close up the braiding. So I don't know how you're supposed to. I think it's impossible to do without it, to be honest. I don't know. Maybe there's a knack that I'm not aware of. But anyway, so they're on. I have changed a plan. I was going to use an oil thermostat that went in these lines, so an inline thermostat. But to be honest, where I've got it all mounted, I've got loads of room to just fit. I don't know if you've seen the style that goes underneath the filter. So I could just have a plate here, a thermostat plate, thermostatic takeoff here, with two lines going forward to the oil cooler. So I think that'll all go on quite nicely. It does simplify the routing, because with the inline one going in these lines, it's all going to get very messy around here. So as it is, I've got two nice, short lines into the housing, and then I'm going to have the oil cooler take off. I'm not actually going to fit that for the dyno. I think I'll just get it all up and running first, because the first lot of oil that goes in it doesn't do very much work. It gets changed straight after the dyno, so I'll do it without the oil cooler, and then I'll get all that plumbed in after everything's sorted. So yeah, there we are. We have inlet manifold. Now the next job is turbo, which is going here. So wish me luck. So there we are, inlet manifold on. Just that little bit I said. I've got to tap the ends of the fuel rail, but that's all done. Looking quite sexy, I think, if I may say so myself. So next job, turbo. Got to bit of pipe work. So I've got to get a 3-inch pipe onto this 2.5-inch V-band. That'll be fun. Make the collector go onto that V-band there. But you'll see all that in the next video. So we'll get cracking on with that. I'm also going to buy the wheels and tyres. I'm going to bite the bullet and actually order those. Maybe slightly controversial choice on wheels. I mean, tyres, I've gone for AR1s, 205 50 15 AR1s. Found for not too ruinous a price, so they'll be on order. I think I'll sort that out very soon. And as I say, the wheels, maybe a controversial choice, but they're the right size. They'll do the job. They're light enough and they look all right. So as I say, they'll do. But I think some people will have an opinion on them. Let's put it that way. So quite looking forward to that. There's always something about buying new rubber, if it's a fetishy thing or not, but yeah, quite exciting. So yeah, hopefully you see that in the next video. I'm not going to promise a couple of weeks or anything, even though hopefully no more medical emergencies, anything like that. But as soon as the turbo's on, I'll let you know. So I'll just say cheers, good health, and I'll see you in weeks.